guys, welcome back to my channel. Simone here. Today I'm going to be filming the "Oh Just a Terrible Book" tag video. I was tagged by the wonderful Kaz from Cats and Camera, and I will link her channel and video down below. So thank you so much to Kaz for tagging me, because I thought the questions in this were really interesting. And the original creator of this tag was Adrian from Stripped Cover Lit, who is a channel I've loved for ages as well. So yeah, let's get started. There's 10 questions. It's a little bit of a more negative video. I'm okay with that. Question number 1 is, what is the worst book you've ever read for pleasure? So for me, I'm going to have to say The Secrets of Eden by Chris Bajalian. I think I read this a couple of years ago, and I happened to find it at the library. It looked like a bit of a thriller, sounded really interesting. I think the premise was something to do with, it follows a woman who is baptised at the beginning of the book, and then basically she goes home that evening and she is murdered by her husband, and then he commits suicide, and then it goes from there. I found this book to be incredibly offensive. I personally don't have any kind of religious beliefs, but I felt like this book was very sort of judgmental and, I don't know, just kind of prejudicial, I guess, and I just didn't like the way that this was done. I think the book itself, I don't know, it just felt longer than it needed to be, even though it's not that long. I don't know, there was just something about this that I found that it left me with a horrible taste in my mouth. So yeah, that one was definitely the worst book I've ever read for pleasure. I did finish it, but only just. And I love thrillers, so it's very difficult for me to like hate a thriller, but that was definitely one that I was not a fan of. Question number 2 is, what was the worst book you ever read for school? And I really like that this distinguishes, because I think that sometimes we kind of forget about the books we read at school because we sort of want to forget about them. Actually, I had to really think about the answer for this, because I've been really lucky, and all the books pretty much that I read at school I actually really loved or I really liked. And so for this one, I picked a short story that I read. I actually read a short story collection of this author, not at school, in the hope that I would enjoy it more, but I still didn't like it. And that one is The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. I do want to read The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, but yeah, The Lottery, I feel like everybody talks about it as this amazing horror story, and I just didn't like it. It basically follows a town of people who are all like picking numbers for their annual lottery, but there's obviously something else going on. I didn't really get it. I think I don't know, maybe I just did not enjoy this. I didn't actually like any of the short stories pretty much. Maybe there was like 1 or 2 that I liked, but the majority of them I was not a fan of. And yeah, I just didn't like it. I don't really understand where the horror element came in. I didn't think it was particularly horrific, like, apart from the writing. Yeah, I really wasn't a fan of that one. Question number 3, who is the worst writer ever? Now, obviously this is a very difficult question to answer, but my personal kind of feeling of this, actually I had a sort of initial reaction to this when the question came up, and that was Franz Kafka, who wrote The Trial. That book particularly is actually the only book I've read by him, so obviously I'm only basing it on that, but it is about a 200-page book without any chapters, without any real like sentences. It's very much like run-on sentences. It's very kind of no gaps, and it's like a stream of consciousness, I think is what they call it. And I really hate that style of writing. It's about a man who basically gets accused of something, and he doesn't know what he's been accused of, but he has to wait for his trial date, and it's just very convoluted, and I didn't like it. And I think his writing style for me just wasn't working, and it didn't make me want to read the book more. It just made me want to like throw it in the bin, and I don't want to throw books in the bin very often. So yeah, for me it was a bit of a mess. Question number 4 is your worst book to movie adaptation, and I could have answered a few different ones for this, but the one I've decided to go with is Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. I really enjoyed the book. I did not love the film. I think the film misses the message of the book. So the book is supposed to be 6 different timelines, all like merging. It's really hard to explain, but they kind of all like link together in some way. And the film is made in such a way that in each timeline the same people play the characters, but they play like a different role in each one. So like one time it could be their brother or their fiance or whatever, like it all mixes up. And although Tom Hanks is in it, and I love Tom Hanks, I did not love the movie. I really didn't like it actually. I did think some of the actors in it were really good, like Tom Hanks did really well. I loved Halle Berry in it, but I just didn't like the way that the story was told. So for me, it just made it more confusing to watch the movie, to be honest. So I liked the book, did not like the film, so it's not a good movie adaptation to me. Question number 5 is, what is your least favourite booktube video to film? And if I'm totally honest, it's review videos. I just don't like to film, and I don't really watch them also, to be honest with you, unless it's a specific book that I'm interested in or I've read and I want to know what other people think. I think review videos are so kind of niche in that each person, it depends if you've seen that book, if you've read that book, or if you are interested in it. I find review videos really difficult to film because I almost feel like, and this is obviously a very personal thing to me, but I feel like if I read a book and then I have to make a review video on it, I feel like it's homework. Like I feel like I'm back at school and I have to like make a presentation, and I'm not that, like, I don't like dissect my books enough, I think, for that, if that makes sense. Like that's just not the way I read. So I think people that do, I think, are amazing, that can make like a 20-minute video based on a book. I find that like completely amazing. And if you look, and obviously people like that I watch, so my favourite channels, if they do review videos, I'll watch them. It's just personally not my preference to film, and not really to watch, but I will watch them if it's somebody that I love. Question number 6 is, what is your least favourite type of booktube video to watch? And again, as I said before, I'm not the biggest fan of review videos. I'm going to say bookshelf tours, because it depends on how it's done. I personally much prefer like a video per like shelf, for example, talking more about in depth about the type of book and what the book is and where you got it from, and if you've read it, if you haven't read it, that kind of thing, more than just holding up the book each time and talking about it. I did do a few bookshelf tours back in the day where I just sort of held up each book, but pretty much every one I've done since then, and I'm hoping to do some more based on the shelves that I have now. I want to make sure that I'm just not going to make them where I just hold the books up and say what they are, because personally I don't really enjoy that. I think that, I don't know, I feel like it gets a bit repetitive. I like to talk about them in more in depth, so I'm more likely to do like 5 videos talking about the shelves rather than one video just showing them. That's just my personal preference. Question number 7 is the worst book cover ever, and I mean there have been some shocking ones, but the one that I wanted to talk about specifically is Me Before You and is it After You by Jojo Moyes. I don't know what Still Me, the third one in the series, looks like, so I can't comment on that, but I think it's just because the covers are so, well, at least the covers that I had when I read them, I don't have them anymore, were just really bland and boring, and I kind of didn't care. They don't really evoke any emotion from me. I don't feel like they really tell you what the story is about. I don't feel like there's really a connection to the story. So I think for me that's probably the ones that I would say for that. Not like worst in terms of when I look at them I don't go, oh that's horrible. It's just that it doesn't really do anything for me specifically. Question number 8 is, what is the least fun you've ever had reading a book? And for me that would have to be Paper Towns by John Green. I read this book and was like angry throughout. I think I gave it a 3-star in the end, which to be honest with you, looking back, I feel like I could probably put it down to like 2. I think for me, the reason why I hated it so much is I was just really angry. I hated Margot. Is it Margot? I really hated her as a character. I felt like Quentin was like a wet blanket and I just wanted to like slap him. And I just felt like I was getting angry reading it because I was just like, 1, I don't care, 2, you're annoying me, and 3, why do people like this so much? I love John Green's other books, like some of his other books I've really enjoyed, and so I think that was also the first book of his that I didn't like, and I'd already read 2 before I think that I did, so that was kind of like a difficult reading experience. I was expecting to love it so much, and I think it was just such a letdown to me that I was like, oh, this is so upsetting. So yeah, I think for me that would definitely be my least favourite reading experience. Question number 9 is, what is the last book you DNF'd? And I have DNF'd in the last month, so you'll again see this in my wrap up probably, but I DNF'd The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I read a good couple of 100 pages of this. I was buddy reading this with Charlie from Charlie Brook, and I will link her channel down below, and she did finish this, but to be honest with you I think one of the only reasons she finished it was because it was on her bookish poster that she's like reading through the books. I don't know how much she would have finished it if she hadn't have been. I don't know, obviously go and check out her wrap up when she puts it up because I'm sure she'll talk about it more. The reason I hated this or why I DNF'd it, was just because nothing really happens. And what does happen is quite like convoluted, and I didn't like the writing style. It was very kind of all over the place for me. None of the characters were particularly likeable. In fact, some of them were downright horrible. And I just didn't really care. And so I got and this is a, what is it, 650, nearly 650 page book, and I was like, I've read 200 pages and I still don't care. So I didn't really want to push myself through another 400 pages. So yeah, for me this was not a good book, and I DNF'd it. And question number 10 is tag some terrible booktubers and insult them. So here we go. The first person I want to tag in this video is Mary from With Cinnamon Please, and I terribly learn so much from her. Her taste in books is very diverse, and she terribly makes me read books that I would never normally read. You see what I did there? The second person I want to tag is Nicole from A Beautiful Chaos of Books. She has terribly good hair. I'm really trying, guys. No, she has great hair. I actually love it. So yeah, definitely would love to hear what your answers are, Nicole. And I would also like to tag April from Getting Hygge With It, because she's terribly hilarious. I feel like I need to see her answers to this this tag. So yeah, those are the people I tag. If you want to do it as well, if you want to do it, let me know in the comments below what your answers would be. Or you can obviously post a video and tag me on Twitter or Instagram or whatever you want to let me know that you've done it. I'm also going to be starting a new thing in my videos where at the end of each video I'm going to do a shout out for either a booktuber, a blogger, an Instagrammer, a Twitter account. Yeah, a bookish style, I guess, because I think it's really nice, and I really want to do that at the end of my videos just to give you something to look forward to. So today's shout out is going to be Emily from Novelle Novels. I love Emily's channel. I think she's amazing. She has a blog, a booktube channel, she has a Twitter account, and she has an Instagram account, so I'll link all of Emily's details down below and all the places that you can find her. Let her know that you were sent from me, because I love Emily and I would love her to have all the love. She recently started her booktube channel, but she's been blogging for quite a while, I think. So yeah, definitely go and check out Emily's channel. I think she's amazing, and yes, Emily, you are my first shout out on these videos. So give this video a thumbs up, guys, if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments down below who you think is the worst writer ever. Oh, let's give it a go. Bye, guys.